And it wasn't until 1609 that Bermuda actually got settled. And it wasn't by the Spanish, it was actually by the British. The British were had an expedition heading over to Jamestown with 5 ships, with the governor of Jamestown on board. And they came upon a pretty nasty storm in the Atlantic. And as a result, they diverted to Bermuda and shipwrecked on the east end of the island known as St. George. Well, you kind of got to fast forward again to the 1700s, and that's where dockyard comes into play. The British lost the Revolutionary War, or the War of Independence, in the 1700s, and basically what happened was the British didn't have anything between the West Indies and Halifax, Nova Scotia. So Bermuda became of strategic importance to the British, and this is where they sort of placed their British, the Royal Navy, I should say, here in Bermuda. And dockyard was built for that very reason. They were always a bit paranoid that the Americans had their eye on Bermuda, and of course it would have been one of the part of the United States had that been the case, but they never really got their hands on it. So we've been a British colony ever since. All of the buildings that you see along here are all built of limestone during that time. Now, if you look at the dark brown stone that's sort of intermingled up amongst the block that's up there on the walls, that's actually was brought over from Cornwall in England. That's a bedrock, and they used to use that stone as ballast on these ships. As you know, all of the ships were under mainsail, and a lot of the times they would load the keel with this ballast to sort of help to give the boat stability. Bermuda endured quite a thriving shipbuilding industry for many years, and some of the many early designs of the Royal Navy fleet were actually designed right here in Bermuda. If you look at this building coming up here on your right, this is part of the Clock Tower Mall. The Clock Tower Mall was actually scheduled to be built in Barbados, and somehow the plans happened upon the desk of the commissioner of the time, and they ended up building the Clock Tower Mall here anyway, as they needed more storage facilities for the Royal Navy at that time. But now the Clock Tower Mall is like a shopping mall now, and on the way back, if those of you wish to get off to do some shopping before you get back on board the boat, I'll be stopping the train momentarily to do so. Now, as we head out the dockyard area, if you look up on the hillside there, that's called Casemates. Now, Casemates was actually the home of the Scottish Black Watch, which were sent over here to look over the 2,000 convict laborers that were brought here to build the Royal Naval Dockyard. And this is where they were housed. The actual convicts were housed on barges floating out on the water. For those of you who may have seen a bit of the America's Cup on the TV and showing, we were Bermuda, we were the host country. Well, this is the America's Cup village over here. It's now being disassembled, but that's where all the activity occurred. It was the perfect viewing position for the racing that went on in the Great Sound, just off to my left. It took about $75 million to build that peninsula, along with some of the renovations of the many buildings in the dockyard area, including the one here on my right, which was known as HMS Malabar. This building was the last presence of the British Navy here in Bermuda, going back all those years, and finally closing down in 1965. I'm just going to pull the train over for a moment, folks, just to allow the traffic to clear. Folks, we're just crossing over what is known as Tender Bridge. You know, Bermuda is not just one island. It consists of 150 islands. Sorry about the bumps, folks. I know it's a couple along the way, so I do apologize. But Bermuda consists of 150 islands, sort of joined together by these little small bridges and causeways over the years. The only way to get around Bermuda for many years was to sail or to row across to the other islands. Turning onto what is known as Craddock Road. This is all still part of the dockyard area, although when we crossed over that little bridge back there, we actually went onto another island. This one is called Boas Island. I beg your pardon, Ireland Island. Boas Island is the next one over. This one is Ireland Island, named after the 2,000 convicts that were brought over here to build the dockyard. It took them, like I said, it took them about 7 years to do it. I think some of them, after finishing off the tenure, actually resided here in Bermuda. Kind of like Australia in that sense. Not that we're all convicts or anything, but a good proportion of the people that were brought over here initially were brought over as labor.
I just came out to answer any questions you might have about Bermuda and to sort of tell you a little bit about it. You know, Bermuda is not a tropical island. We're actually a subtropical island. You say, well, what's the difference? Well, we do have a bit of a winter. It goes down to about 60 degrees during the months of January and February, so it's not too cold, but you kind of have to wear a jumper when you're on your moped, like we all do. So, but that's about as damp as it gets, and usually night times it's nice, kind of brisk. But we don't get any snow, or we don't get any of that heavy-duty, nasty cold weather that you get on the East Coast. Is everybody from like Boston, New York, that area?
Yeah.
A lot of people are from. All right. Well, a lot of what you're going to see along the way, a lot of the homes that you'll see are all built from this very same stone right here, off here to the side. That's limestone, and that's the very building blocks that we use for building many of the homes. Not only the actual walls, but the roofs as well. You know, we don't have any lakes or reservoirs or rivers, so we have to catch the water on the roof of our house. Now, after these roofs are sealed, they're actually painted white. You'll notice all the roofs of the Bermuda homes are painted white. Well, that's because they're coated with a lime wash. Lime acts as a natural purifier for the water. Now, below every home is a tank that holds anywhere between 10 to 20,000 gallons, depending on how big the house is. Now, that generally supplies a family of 5 or 6. Now, we always have to remind our American friends when they come to visit, please don't stand in the shower for half an hour because it gets, water is precious. So it does rain anywhere between 2 and 4 inches. We don't have monsoon rain here. We get rain like every month between 2 and 4 inches, and that generally keeps us all pretty well. We did have a bit of a drought in April, and we had the water truckers were running around crazy, filling up people's tanks. And it's your own problem. It's your responsibility to phone a water trucking company to get water delivered to your house if you run out. So you see, that's one of the this is how we've been doing things here in Bermuda for hundreds of years. And the homes that you're seeing today are all built from that very same limestone. Okay? You guys got any questions at all about Bermuda?